everybody. My name is Jayanth Murthy from the Kaizen Institute, India, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with two people I have immense respect. And also sitting on my left is my mentor, my guru, Mr. Vinod Grover, the Managing Director of the Kaizen Institute, India and Africa Operations. And on my right is Antonio Costa, the Global CEO of the Kaizen Institute Global Operations. And he's visiting us in India. Thank you very much, Antonio, and thank you very much, Mr. Vinod Grover. So friends, there's a lot that is changing in this world. Going back to times when probably fire was invented, then they say the change came when the wheel was invented, steam was invented, and every time people said it's a turning point. But I'm sure all of you will agree that the era that we are going through now is a very interesting world. The world is changing, hopefully for the better. And the process of business, performing business, running your businesses, business management is also undergoing a lot of change. There's a lot of stress. There are a lot of opportunities and challenges. So today, it's my absolute pleasure to peep into two wonderful and experienced minds. Antonio has been in this business of business transformation for 30 years. And I don't even know how many countries and how many clients he has served. Whenever I have an opportunity to talk to him, he talks about the work he has done in Russia, in Europe, in America, in Singapore, in Australia. I mean, almost every continent he has served clients, and he's been a hands-on CEO, extremely important, not a boardroom CEO. He's one among the consultants, probably the consultant number one. The same applies to Mr. Vinod Grover, who's been a tremendous energy for the Kaizen Institute operations globally, also in India and Africa specifically. And he's also a Gemba man who brings with him a lot of experience. So today we're going to be discussing about shaping the future of excellence, business excellence specifically, and trying to get some global perspectives from both Mr. Antonio Costa and also Mr. Vinod Grover. And I would request Mr. Grover to reflect a little more locally from the Indian perspective. So the first question that I would like to pose to Antonio is, what do you think, how do we really need to reimagine the future of operational excellence? As we all know, there's been industrial engineering, which is probably the start of all of this. We have gone through various industrial revolutions, Industry 4.0, 1.0.
First of all, thank you very much for your invitation. It is a pleasure for me to be here with you. First time visiting this amazing country, and we had a promise in the past, and I think I was able to accomplish my promise with you. And this has been an amazing week, year full of experiences, and I have a commitment with myself that is I have to learn every day. And this week was a learning week, and that I have to say thanks, because, like you said, I met both of you more than 20 years ago, and I can also call you both my mentors, and my learning lessons with you are huge. So regarding your question, we have seen a great evolution of the OPEX, let's say, since the 50s. I say since the 50s because I'm reporting to Kaizen history, and I will not go back to the Industrial Revolution or even before. And what we have seen was an evolution, a traditional evolution, from the quality circles or the total quality Kaizen events to what we call today the exponential growth. Why do we call it exponential growth? Because it's obvious that the technology improvement is faster than ever in the history of mankind.
That's right.
And with that said, the technology is improving exponentially. And of course, this will play a great impact in the OPEX as we see it today, because it's impossible not to consider the influences that AI automation, data-driven, robotic process automation, and also the sustainability will cause to our approach to the OPEX. So I believe the technology is driving OPEX to a new level, the level of the exponential growth, and at the same time, a more agile approach to the business processes. Because I also have to say that technology itself will not be capable to deliver the results.
Absolutely.
The results will only appear if the organizations will be ready to define their businesses and to adapt to the changing world that we are facing today.
Thank you, Antonio. Absolutely. It is very clear the message is adopt or perish. Over to you, Mr. Grover. Yes, things are evolving, things are very different. How do you think, two parts to my question, is India preparing, because there's a manufacturing boom that's happening in India, how is the Indian industry preparing for these changes, and how is Kaizen Institute specifically addressing this?
Thank you, Jayanth. It is a privilege being with Antonio. We have known each other for nearly 20 years, and one always learns when he meets. Then I meet him, I think he's there to learn all the time. He is absolutely right when he talks about this exponential. When he said exponential growth, I wondered whether exponential growth will come to the entire world. Exponential growth is definitely coming to India. India is nearing about $4 trillion in GDP sometime this year. And it will be adding about $1 trillion to its economy every 3 years. So that looks like an exponential growth. What is changing exponentially is definitely the demands, technology on the expectations all around us. Now, although the new companies and new manufacturing industries that get set up in India, they will probably try their best to be contemporary in terms of their environmental practices, digital practices, and so on. But they will all have to use people. And it's not the technology that makes an organization excellent at the end of the day. It is the people, practices, and the culture of the organization. So I think we'll have plenty to do if we have to build a culture of excellence. So that will be a role that we will always have to play. The other important aspect is that our Indian economy is, I think it's very large in service sector. And the service sector is still pretty archaic in its ways. And so we'll have plenty of opportunities to help organizations to not only improve their culture, people practices, as also their business processing. And as long as we focus on our core competence of ensuring that we keep developing culture and people, we'll have plenty to.
Fantastic. So people, culture, I think those are something that will probably never go out of relevance or fashion. So, Antonio, digitization seems to be the buzz, right? It is the mantra, it has always been there. And people everywhere are adopting digitization. And there is also this feeling that digitization will be a magic which will solve all problems. So, how is Kaizen Institute globally? How are we preparing to embrace, these new digital technologies while pushing the classic traditional approach to excellence, that is the Kaizen way?
Well, interesting question, and I will pick Mr. Grover answer to deal with this question. So I think we are in the middle of a trilemma. And the trilemma means people, technology or the machines, and data, because digitalization is about data. And what we have seen recently is a fully automation intention from the companies and even from the governments giving money to the companies to automate, but they are doing this for the sake of automation and not for the sake of better serving the customers, having better products with better results to their own businesses. Which means that most of the time, and what we have seen globally, so this is not a problem of a particular continent, is that we are digitalizing or automatizing waste, muda in our language. Is this a big problem? It is. It is because the ultimate goal can be compromised, and we are not serving the customer or giving a customer excellence journey the way we should. So what keeps us sharp in Kaizen is that we are faithful to a simple sentence that is, first we need to simplify, and then we automatize. Speaking about the tools, the machine, there was always a strong and an intimate relation between people and the technology. But in the past, we used to call it tools. So the mankind, since its origins, started to develop tools to protect themselves from the weather, from the animals, to hunt, to be capable to eat. And at the time, we used to call it tools. Today, we call it technology. But the idea is the same, to use the technology in our own, let's say, in our own benefit. And when you digitize or automatize for the sake of automatize, instead of understanding the process, understanding what is the waste and the problems that you have on the process, you will not take the fullest extension of the result that you can take. To close the trilemma, there is the data thing, and the data, the big data, looks like the black box on an
Aeroplane.
On an aeroplane. And what is the problem? The problem is, we in Kaizen we used to say good data, good Kaizen. So we need data to take decisions, and in fact today we have a much faster access to the data due to technology. And we have a much faster way to deal with the data, also due to the technology. But in the end, if we don't do right use about that data, all the efforts are useless to the final result. So our approach is dealing with this trilemma: the technology or the machines, the people, and the data. Always with the people in the center of this equation. No doubt that the jobs will change. No doubts that the world is changing faster, but in my opinion, we will always have a synergy relationship between the people and the technology, and that is very important.
Absolutely. So I tend to call it PPT, people, process, and technology. They have to come together, and PPT is always the favorite, corporate language. They're using PowerPoints all the time. So, Mr. Grover, I want a very quick one or two examples of how focusing on operational and performance excellence has helped Indian companies overcome the challenges. Any quick reflections that you have on this? I know there are several hundreds and dozens of cases you have, but what comes to your mind, sir?
Well, as you said, there are plenty of examples, but without naming names, I might start talking about a rather special case that we had, which covered a lot of ground. I'm referring to a shoe manufacturing organization which had the capacity to produce, we call it 6 crore pairs a year, 600 million? No,
6 million.
60 million.
60 million, yeah.
60 million pairs a year. They had 5 manufacturing clusters, not manufacturing units. So the one cluster was several units. And warehouses right across the country. India, almost a continent. And so when we started work with them, their basic objective, they said they want to become more efficient, reduce cost, make more money. The competitive pressures were hurting them. And so we had to go end to end. We had to go to the factories and make their factories lean in the first phase. It took a couple of years. The idea was to be able to respond to changes in the market at the least possible time. So eventually we came to a situation when we could respond to market in one day, 24 hours.
Wow.
And when we reached that stage, we went all out into the distribution chain, which had 6 major warehouses across the country. It had 17 depots, they used to call it, across different parts of the country, and of course hundreds and hundreds of dealers. And then we set up an algorithm for them, one warehouse at a time, one depot at a time, to be able to reduce inventories. Of course, we had only 2 objectives. The first objective was to help them improve what we call on time and full delivery. Deliver on time and in full. The second objective was to do it at the least cost to the company.
Yeah.
The least cost means that I should have less inventory. Although I am improving my serviceability, I should have less warehouses, possibly less inventory, with very quick response to demand. And we achieved all that in a total span of something like about 2 years in the factory and 2 years in the warehouses. Of course, a great deal of work by the organization itself. And we had to use in digital processes to help them achieve this in quick time, because manual processes were far too slow. So this is how you improve a legacy company. The company was about 60, 70 years old. They were using SAP and all that, but having technology by itself doesn't solve the problem. The problem is solved when you are able to look at the business from a customer perspective and find and eliminate waste in the process. That's just a very satisfying.
Very interesting. Basically here is this fantastic case of how not only the service delivery to the market improved, but I remember this particular case where literally hundreds of crores of rupees,
About 200 crores.
200 crore rupees in free cash flow was generated, and without sacrificing the order fill rate, the response to the market.
We went from 60% to about 85%.
60% to 85% of order fill rate. And shoe business is a very complex, Antonio. So many sizes, colors, fashion. Fashion is a complex industry. Antonio, last question to you is, a lot of people ask me, why Kaizen, why continual improvement? Because if you don't improve, you stagnate, you perish. And there is no life without challenges. As long as you have challenges, you have to keep improving. Do you think the same thing applies to businesses, or in this world of digital technologies, etc.? Is there a need for the spirit of Kaizen?
Absolutely, and Mr. Grover just explained with a practical example. Because technology alone will never ever take care of the true productivity. And with Kaizen, Kaizen helps the businesses to rejuvenate. Kaizen helps the business to stay agile by changing for better every day. So this is what we do. No matter the sector we are, no matter the type of organization or the location or the country or the continent, what we do is finding the best way to involve everyone within the organization every day, so with frequency, making improvements everywhere in the organization. So Kaizen is a key competitive advantage.
Absolutely.
For any single company to strive for success, even in this new world of exponential technology. So I have no doubts that the Kaizen approach will enable the business to adapt quickly, for the changes, to improve the efficiency, to remain competitive in an ever evolving landscape. So this is what we do everywhere, and what we put in practice in any single organization. Either it is from the small incremental improvements, like improve 1% every day, for the big value stream improvements, or even radical changes, big breakthroughs, or paradigm change. This is absolutely fundamental. And Kaizen will continue to be a competitive advantage for the organization.
Absolutely, Antonio. Thank you very much. So, before I wrap up, two quick, very rapid fire questions. Your first time to India, right?
First time.
So what has been your impressions? What impressions are you going back with?
My word is I'm amazed. My expression is wow. We are in a city of, I guess,
11 million.
Roughly 11 million people. So the same number of people that I have in my entire country. We are in a city probably with even a lower average age than the total Indian country. I like to call it continent because it's much more than a country. And when you have such a strength, such an energy behind, you create a movement. And when you create a movement, either a catastrophe will happen or it will be impossible to stop that movement. So what you need to do is to make sure that the movement is going in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Then it's a question of speed, going faster or sometimes a little bit slower to be more capable of turning around the difficulties that here and there will come, because we cannot predict the future. And very, very few years ago, we were surprised by a world pandemic, and we never, at least in our generations, we never felt that before. Yeah. And all of a sudden, everything changed. So I'm absolutely amazed with what I saw, the power, the energy, the movement, and this is priceless.
Did you enjoy the Indian cuisine, the food?
I guess my colleagues, the phrase of my colleagues for this week is no spicy for me. There's a particular reason, not because I don't like, but I have to go slowly with this immersion. But I have to say, and we concluded also that I found some similarities in some of the dishes, but the mixture of the flavors and the senses that the flavors create, I was already a fan. Now I'm in love.
Thank you, Mr. Grover. I know you are a big voracious reader. So what's the book by your bedside or in your bag?
Well, the book that I'm currently reading is about measuring people performances from Gallup. That says first change all the rules. First break all the rules.
First break all the rules. That's the title of the book. So thank you very much, Antonio. It was an absolute pleasure for me to interact with you, learn from you. Thank you very much, Mr. Grover. And I hope everybody who tunes in finds some value, some nuggets from this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.